different because everybody's like local. So some of the questions you're going to be able to get answered by people that's already doing this. How many of you guys already done a deal? Raise your hand. Cool. So about like a third of the room has done a deal. That's good. And hopefully the rest of y'all very shortly, right? One deal away. Cool. All right. So I don't have a particular topic to talk about. I'm not here to sell you anything. I got nothing for sale. No people in the back of the room with a $5,000 mentor and shit or anything like that. I just like real estate and I like to talk about it. So fire away with some questions. If I can answer them, I will. If I can't, I'll Google them later. All right, great. Had a good time. So
I was about to say, now everybody got quiet. We were all excited.
Yeah, just act like y'all in the Facebook group. There you go. We always take just one, and then we're rolling.
The podcast about Kareem, who got his first deal. I don't know if you remember, but he was like,
yeah,
but
like 19.
Yeah, I have 19K. What do I do? So
yeah.
I have not got a deal yet, but I want to jump all in, and I want to know if you said to him like $500 to $600 a month budget on business expenses. I kind of want to know a little bit more about what you would recommend. You told him to use Excel, but I really want a CRM of some sort to start with. So.
And I think it goes down to like how technical you are with computers, right?
Yeah.
Me, I jumped in and I had a CRM from day one.
That's what I want.
So I just wanted to have organization. It cost me. I used Investor Fuse when I first started, and they were on Podio. And about a month ago, our team switched over to Investor Fuse 2.0, which is something native that they built themselves. I like it. It's simple. It carries my KPIs like I need to. If I got to do anything more in depth, I keep those records anyways. But I mean, if you want a free CRM, you can use the free version of Podio if it's just yourself. You don't have anybody else logging in, and you just want to be able to track who you've talked to, so you have some type of follow-up system, right? That's the main reason right now for a CRM, is so that when you talk to somebody 3 weeks ago and they tell you to go kick rocks, they might tell you something different 3 weeks from now, or if you have some type of follow-up system. So there's a free version of Podio, and the only thing I've ever used personally is Investor Fuse. So that's the only thing I can really recommend. I think it's a one-time fee. But so if you're not ready to jump in and make that, I think it's maybe close to like $1,900. I could be wrong. Okay. Yeah, if you're not ready for that, then just jump into the free Podio version, build that up, and then once you have that, they'll actually transfer your data over for you when you get ready to, get into a CRM.
I bought a tax lien list, and I just don't foresee Excel working with that too well.
Is that where I think you were in the Facebook group, you said you bought a tax lien list, you paid for, and you're like, what am I going to do with this?
I messaged you about, I called one guy, and one guy answered.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Deal.
And it was right outside of Nashville, like in some...
Goodlettsville. Yeah, I'm still talking to him,
Goodlettsville.
Goodlettsville, yeah, that's what you said.
He wants the tax assessed value.
Which is how much?
35.
35,000, right? And how many acres is it?
2.6.
2.6.
And so he said it's subdividable.
Of course, he said, listen, I can't
know.
buy on
I had a
speculation.
realtor do some comps, and she said, like, on the low end, like, she said 20 to 50, which is a pretty big range, is what she said.
Your realtor gave you a $30,000 range on below $50,000?
So I was like, I don't know.
So I did my research when we messaged, right? And I've seen that development has not yet reached there, or it's not potentially going that way yet. Now, I didn't get the exact address, but I could see where it's not pushing that way yet. It's so I'm investing more into Rutherford County, which is like, Murfreesboro and Laverne, Smyrna, and all that, because it's just I can just see the natural push of it pushing that way. So I always try to get ahead of the curve, right? Now it's not to say to keep up with that guy, because it's sitting there. You said he owes back taxes and he really can't afford it.
Yeah, but it's only $265.
You'd be surprised. Some people are on very tight budgets, and like that is a pay pressure for him. So eventually, he can lose that at a very it'll take a while, but he can lose it. I think in Tennessee it's a 1-year redemption period after you have the taxes, right? Yep. So the information here is not as hard to get. So I've been here last week, and I literally go down to the county and I start asking around who I need to talk to, and they start giving me information on who I need to talk to. So I've got people's numbers now where I can call and they pull certain records just by smiling on the phone, and they'll give them to me. So keep working it, but find a way to work that list. Have you skip traced it, I'm assuming?
No, that's what, I was looking at White Pages Premium, and I'm like, I would rather just bulk skip trace it.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet,
Yeah,
because I
you
just
should do
don't
that.
have a lot of time, so looking every single number up on White Pages.
How much was the list? How long was the list?
It was only, I don't know, less than $100. I think there was over 1,000 names.
So you're like 112, less than $150 to skip trace everybody.
I thought it was 500 when I looked at it.
Where were you looking at?
REI skip?
I could be wrong. I do own it, by the way. But we bought that when we created REI Rail. Oh yeah, I'm thinking of when you have, I think it might be 35 cents a record or 34 cents when you're doing them. I don't remember.
It's okay.
But it should be 500. I don't think it's 500.
I had just talked to another person who'd done 6 or 7 deals, and she's still using White Pages Premium, and I was like, okay.
At some point you gotta level up.
Yeah.
There's a lot more bulk skip traces out there as well.
What's that?
There's a lot more bulk skip traces out there. I think 50 is the minimum, 100 is the minimum, something like that.
Yeah.
So.
And then it's in a PDF, so I need to figure out how to get it.
So okay, so now that's a good question. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna find somebody on Fiverr that can translate that and put it on Excel. And if you can't find it, Fiverr's probably the easiest. I would say Upwork, but you don't really need to create an Upwork account just to do that one document. But eventually, if you start using more spot VA services, you want to create a Upwork profile so you can then find VAs that can do it. And they'll do it while you're sleeping and you wake up and it's done. And it might cost you $50, but it's worth it once again because you said you'll have time. And hopefully with that, you have some money to kind of allocate some of those other things so that you are not just like, you know, time and money. It kind of goes hand in hand which one you got more of. I hope that answers some questions for you.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Just in general, if you were to spend $600, what are the things that you think are most important?
For me, one would be acquiring data, but it wouldn't. I would get it for free. I would do the cheap way you just did, or really get it for free. Another thing I would do is obviously you'd have to do some skip tracing, and depending on how band signs are in your area, I would probably put out a couple in some hot spots, something even if it's just 10 a week. If not that, I would. You're trying to solve problems, so you want to be able to get pain points, right? And just try to stack your pain points in your head mentally, and just you know. So like if you got in the tax lien list, is it liens that are currently like been sold, or is it ones that's coming up on auction?
Coming out.
So that's a good list. So usually the county has done all the advertising for you because they're sending them letters saying, okay, this is your third, this is your final notice, and most people don't know what to do with that. Some people pack up and leave the house, you know, not knowing that they have a full year redemption. I've seen people leave, you know, $70,000 houses behind for $3 grand. You know, just like, yeah, the city's gonna take it. I'm like, what? You know, obviously I give them more money than $3,000, but you know, there's people out there that don't know what's going on, and it's your job to be the expert to help them solve a problem, maybe put some money in their pocket. And I always start the conversation with, you know, hey, are you looking to sell your house and blah, blah, blah. I don't even let them speak yet. I might be able to help you and actually, if they have some any type of resistance. And that money in your pocket is like, oh, wait, you put one in there? So, but yeah, data is the biggest thing. And really, when you're starting out, and you don't want to go out and just buy a bunch of data sets. You don't want to just go out and get a bunch of data. You kind of want to dive deep into something that you consider. So if you're going down the tax route, what I tell people is just research, right? So take the time and I would say dive and know exactly all the rules that your state has with the tax sale and become great at it. I mean, just understand the tax sale procedure in Tennessee down to the minute things. And that way you can be smarter than anybody else. Even if I have the same list you have, you're not worried because you know a loophole is something that I don't know. And that's kind of the advantage that I play, because reality is you don't need to look like my company, right? My overhead's like $30,000 a month. You don't need to be like me. You need to be able to get 1 or 2 deals a month, and that's it. And that can just be solving 1 or 2 problems. I have to solve 10 to 12 problems a month, right? On a consistent basis. So it's a little bit different than starting than scaling. So really look at it from a small person perspective, because I'm pretty sure you would love an extra 10 grand a month, right? Yeah, it'd be great. Nice vacations with that. Who else? What's next? Okay.
I found a deal.
There you go.
I found a deal on a deal machine, and I called the woman, and I got a hold of her daughter. And she's actually, the house is being foreclosed on.
Okay.
And they're having, I checked at the courthouse, they're having to sell on the 20th of this month.
They're having it on the 20th of this
They're
month.
having it 20th of this month.
Okay.
So what are my steps? How do I go about?
So right now, since they've already initiated the foreclosure,
And one more thing,
Go
they checked the back taxes on it, and the bank has already paid that.
yeah. So reason why the bank's going to pay that is because the money is escrowed each year. You know, when you have your mortgage. Now they're obviously going to pay it if it's valuable enough, because if not, one thing that supersedes any mortgage is city and county taxes. So they're always number one on the lien list, right? So they want to make sure they pay that. Do you know the mortgage balance versus?
It's actually on auction.com.
Okay.
And it's starting 43,000. And
So-
they say it's worth 89,000.
So you got a couple options. One is you need to find out, how can I help this homeowner? That's really how you get in there to figure it out. And if they've given up, then there's an amount that is called a reinstatement amount. Now, the bank doesn't have to give you a reinstatement, but they have to give you off a payoff amount, right? So now they might play around and draw it out this far away, but most banks don't want to be in the business of collecting homes. So they'll likely give you a reinstatement amount. Now that amount in that case probably can be somewhere like 7 to 9 grand. I could be wrong, but that will stop the foreclosure. So if you have that laying around, stop the foreclosure and put a couple grand in the homeowner's pockets and get them out of there. But don't do that until you have you're essentially what you're going to do is you're going to take that home subject to. Now, if it's really worth 90 grand and it all depends on the repairs, right? You may even be able to get a cash buyer on it like that. You can just get it on a contract. Say, look, I'll buy it, or at least case scenario, I'll reinstate it myself and I'll figure it out. Because what I would do with a house like that is, typically I would go in and I would reinstate the loan. I'd buy the house subject to. Literally, I'm gonna stop the foreclosure and give them a couple grand, right? If it's in the deal parameters. And I'm gonna stick it on the MLS. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm gonna clean it out and stick it on the MLS and sell it for like 70 grand. Because what's gonna happen is the bank's gonna buy it back. They're not gonna lose. The bank's gonna take it back and they're gonna list it on the market and they're gonna do the same thing I just told you to do. So you might as well stop it if you can with the few grand it costs to get the reinstatement and a couple grand in their pocket, and then now you own it. The mortgage is still there, right? But you stopped the foreclosure. You now own the property because they deeded it to you, and now just stick it on the MLS, clean it out. Don't spend more than $1,000, $10 an hour on Craigslist. Clean it out, pressure wash the driveway or something. Stick it on the MLS, and you'd be surprised how fast it'll sell. Especially houses sub 90, people bring cash for that. Yeah, no problem. You guys are real quiet.
What about opportunity zones you were talking about? As far as how do you acquire like investors to invest in opportunities?
So how many of you guys know what opportunity zones are? Right? So it's a real interesting topic that I've been kind of traveling around and educating myself so I can maybe even talk about it. And I've not really talked about it except for on that podcast with Vince. So opportunity zones are like essentially the government. So who knows who Sean Parker is? I'm going to go deep on this one. Anybody know who Sean Parker is? One or two people? How many of you guys know what Napster is? Okay, how many of you guys know what Facebook is? All right, so Sean Parker invented Napster. He was the first president of Facebook, and he also is I think he's the largest investor of Spotify, right? So he disrupted the music industry once by creating Napster, where we can all download. How many of you guys made money by burning CDs and selling them? Am I the only one? See, this is older people raising their hand. Thank you, guys. So Napster was where we can download music. Some of you young guys might be like BearShare. What else was out there? LimeWire, right? So Sean Parker was like the guy for that. And then, so him and his billionaire friends are hanging out in Africa, and they're like, you know what? It'd be great if we can spend some of our money, our capital gains, right? How many of you guys know what capital gains, right? It's unrealized earnings. Basically, so if you buy stock for $1, 10 years, it's worth $100, depending on how much you have in it. all of that money is capital gains. Well, you pay about 15, 18% tax on capital gains, right? So it's pretty expensive, right? You've got 10 million in capital gains, you're gonna pay around, what is that? Somebody do the math, 1.5 million, right? So what the government is, what Sean Parker came up and said, hey, look, if me and my rich friends can spend money without being taxed and do something good with the money, that'd be great. So they came up with this thing called opportunities. And the opportunity zones are tracts that they identified in America. There's 8,700 tracts of land in America that they identified as opportunity zones. Now, what this does is investors can take their capital gains, which in America there's 6.4 trillion with a T, $trillion in capital gains. And what they're trying to say is that investors with the tax plan that came out in 2017, I think it was, if you put your capital gains into one of these opportunity zones, now it could be in real estate or business inside the opportunity zones, and then it really goes down to like how many hours of work in the opportunity zone, but a business or real estate in the opportunity zones, and you keep it there for a maximum of 10 years, all the money you've made in those 10 years will be tax-free, and then will reduce the amount of taxes you'll have to pay on the original capital gains you brought over, right? So let's just say they bring it down to 2%. He saves 13% on his money already. Well, if you know of any large investor, 6% a year is great, right? If you can make 6% on a couple $1 million, that's great money. So it's kind of a win-win situation. But this type of investing in the past is what we call impact investing. Most people don't do it because they're not in it for impact. They're in it for money, right? So the federal government put out this program, and it's fairly new. The last regs just got released maybe a month ago. So people are still not sure what they're going to do with that. But for you as investors, it's important to know what these tracks are and what can happen. So example, in my city, there's this huge building called the GMAC building, which was a insurance company. And they got up and left town, and this other rich guy and his friends, they bought the building. Well, it happened to be an opportunity zone. I don't know why this building was an opportunity zone, because it's the highest rent in town in that area. Him and his friends bought the building. They're moving their corporate headquarters down there, and then they're using offices for every other floor. So with that money, so him and his rich friends basically save 15% by bringing that money over. All the money they make for the next 10 years is going to be tax-free, all this stuff. So what happens is, if you know opportunity zones, these properties are actually going to be worth more than they were just yesterday. Only because there's an automatic tax break and there's a long-term thing. Now, I went to a Forbes Opportunity Zone Summit in New Jersey a couple weeks ago, and all the big hedge funds, Prudentials, all the big guys are there, but they're really trying to go about this carefully because it's impact investing. It's not made to make a money and then leave. So a lot of these impact areas are essentially in the hood, right? It's low income. They had a projection of where they wanted to, where the income level was in this neighborhood. They actually did it below it. So with that, it's up to investors not to allow a rapid gentrification to happen of the area. It's actually to invest into the people that are already in the community without just coming in and building something and leaving, right? So as an investor now, I would just identify them. Back to your question. I just had to give you my backstory. I would identify the opportunity zones and see how you can partake in the movement that is going to happen. Because it's going to happen. It's one of the greatest tax breaks we've ever been offered as not me, but wealthy people have ever been offered in a long, long time. Okay. So educate yourself on it, find out what they are. What I've been doing is I've been buying plots of land, little pieces of land for like $1,400 bucks in the hood, right? Because I know it's coming. It's got to come that way. So, say that again? Yeah, I'm actually taking about almost $3 million of money in my IRA and investing in Rutherford and Davidson County, right? So, and for you that are investing, a self-directed IRA is a big way you can save a lot of money. So make sure you look into that when you get to that level. So I hope I answered that question for you. Yeah. That was a long answer. But
so you say you're already buying an opportunity zone?
I am personally. I'm buying the cheapest things I can, because eventually either one, I want to be able to invest my capital gains in that, or I can be a part of a project. The problem with big hedge funds, don't like to deploy $3 or $5 million. They want to do 20, $30 million projects. So this is something new for them where they're going to have to deploy money in smaller chunks in order to be efficient and take advantage of the tax benefits. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we just landed in Birmingham.
Birmingham. I was just down there.
Yeah, that's so, well, second of all, we got some donuts over there too.
I seen that. So me and my team were riding scooters downtown all yesterday. We stopped by there and ate.
All right, so my question is, so we did a 30-day challenge. We've got a fish on the hook.
Okay.
We have a contract with a seller. All right, and we're getting close to our 30 days. We gave ourselves 30 days. What's the best way of easing into extending it to another 30 days?
Here's my thing. Why do you think you reached that full 30 days already, or about to?
Well, we're trying to network more so we can build our buyers list. One. Two is we're part-timers, but we're trying to give it all we can.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not. Probably half of this room is part-timers.
So that's just what we cannot do.
Have you been to the local RIA there in Birmingham?
I have. So we're going to Brian trip next week.
Okay.
To give a Brian, you know, and just try to get some more pointers.
Okay.
Ask questions like this and meet more people so we can get our buyers list a little stronger.
Have you reached out to my guy Sean, that was down there? So the reason why I was in Alabama, I was helping him set up some things in his business.
I haven't, but I did see where you were having.
Okay. Reach out to Sean. He's a big network guy. He's already a millionaire, so he might buy it himself. So Sean owns two of the largest insurance companies in Alabama and Mississippi with 275 agents. So reach out to him too.
One of our obstacles is it's not in Birmingham.
Where's it at?
It's in Saks. It's Anniston, like 45 minutes.
Is things happen in there though?
It's got a good school system. That's what's going on. The houses go for low, but we stand to make 6, 7 on it.
So here's the thing. It's not uncommon in the real estate world in general to put something on a contract and it doesn't go through. Did you put down any earnest money or?
$100.
Good. So you at least it's a binding contract and you paid for the time. Did you do a due diligence period or you just put the earnest money down?
Earnest money down.
Earnest money. So do you think the property may be a little too high that you got on the contract?
I don't.
So you just need more eyes on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we might go over and cut the grass and do some stuff like that.
So it's a vacant property.
It is.
Okay.
It's an inherited property,
Okay, that's better, right? So nobody's in the house. It's nobody's waiting. Yeah. So where do the people live that own it?
South Carolina.
Okay, so they're really emotionally detached from this property, right? So it's as simple as an honest phone call. It really is. And hey, look, I messed up. I thought I was going to end the project sooner than I was. Can I put some more money down on the due diligence period? Can I send you $200 more for the due diligence period? And buy some more time. That way you're legally extending, right? So you say, hey, look, I need about 15 more days, maybe 20, but I messed up. This is my fault. So can I send you about 200 more ducks just to add an addendum to the contract to extend me out? I'll make sure I'll get it. And even if you got to sell it this time and make $0, then that's what you do to keep your word on, trying to do this business ethically, right? And if you think you need a price reduction, that's the point you need to go in there and ask for it. But it's kind of hard to do two asks at the same time, right? So you got to pick your poison. Which one do you do? I would extend it and try to move forward with it.
I got a fish on the hook, so I'm gonna get back with him tomorrow.
There you go.
And just to sweeten it up, I told him we'll cover half of the closing costs.
You see what I'm saying? So you got him covered on that side. Now you might need to fork out because half of a watermelon is better than, you know what I mean? So you need to move over and call the seller and just say, hey, look, I thought I was going to finish the project sooner than I thought I did. It's my fault. Can I send you $200 more in a check to you and do an amendment to this contract and just extend it for maybe 15 days, 20 days or so more? And they probably got no problem with that. I found that it's always been the best to just be honest.
Would you send that check to the seller or to the title company?
I'm gonna send that to the actual seller, right? Because what you're doing now is you're buying a due diligence period, and you're paying for that. So if they try to cancel that, they can't because you essentially bought the time. So in my contract, you know how some people put 100, 200 bucks down? So every contract I write now, not when I started, my numbers were zero, but my attorney quickly told me why I shouldn't have done that. But listen, I made almost $1 million putting zero on contracts. I pay $100 in earnest money, which goes to the title company, the attorney, to open up escrow, right? And I pay $100 in due diligence. So essentially what I do in my contract is I don't put an inspection period. I say due diligence period 15 days, contract 30. Now the reason why I do that, because in regular real estate contracts, so I just did 2 closings on Friday on flip properties that I did, right? The buyer, when they came to me, they wrote a $500 earnest money check, due diligence check that came to me, was written to my company, and that gave them to a certain date to do their inspections, their whatever they wanted to do. And up until that date, they could cancel the contract with no recourse, right? Because they essentially bought that time, right? So if you ever had to go to court, a judge would look at you and say, well, ma'am, he bought that time for $100 and you accepted it. You get what I'm saying? So due diligence is something I put in every single contract now. I spend $200 per contract. Now, if you don't have it, split up 50 and 50. $50 earnest money, $50 due diligence. People really are not really focusing on those two things. What they're looking at is how much money and when they're going to get it. That's the most important thing to a seller.
So is that a total of 45, or are you doing the first 15 due diligence and the second 15?
Well, just whatever you can afford, right? If you can't do 100 and 100, I would do 50 and 50, right? You're saying days, sorry. So, sorry, on the days, my contract is to be executed 30 days from the day we sign. My due diligence period is around 15 days. Now, I'll explain that, because in 15 days of me talking to my buyers, I'll know if I have something or not. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. I'll never take it all the way to the end. Like, usually I'm selling a property in 24 to 48 hours. So if I ain't sold it in 15 days, it's a bad one. And I don't feel bad calling the seller and saying, hey, I need a price reduction. No, I ain't giving you a price reduction. Well, I'm sorry. My due diligence said that I need to spend more money, fix it, and I can't pay you what I said I was going to pay you. And you can legally walk away from the contract, and they keep that $100. It's the cost of doing business. But it also protects yourself in court.
What was Sean's name?
Sean Simmons.
Simmons?
Yeah, look him up on Instagram. I think he's Coach Sean Simmons, and just reach out to him. He's a cool dude. He owns, you know, Jake's restaurant yeah, he owns that. Yeah, he owns Jake's Soul Food. So you can catch him probably over there hanging out at lunchtime or something.
So do you do the same thing when you buy MLS deals?
I've never bought an MLS deal.
Okay, we've wholesale like some properties through realtors, and realtors typically want like a lot more for earnest.
Yeah, so typically on my contracts when I'm selling a rehab property, I usually get between $300 and $500 for a due diligence check, and my earnest money is around $1,000. But that's just different play. If you're playing on the MLS, the rules that realtors are accustomed to are different. So you kind of got to play with their own ball when you go over there.
So talk about this, because I've only been following you since probably middle last year sometime. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that spoke to me is you transitioned from really nice, comfortable, what people consider a comfortable career, more than 6 figures, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. And then, 12, 24 months, you transition into, selling real estate. So
I went broke in between that period though, right?
Yeah.
There was a broke period in between there.
But tell me, so same boat, I've sold a property early last year. Mm-hmm. Took some time off just because I've got a family, and my priorities weren't there yet. Mm-hmm. But now they are, and focusing in on that. Just talk about the mechanics of max starting to max 12, 24 months later. Like, what did that look like in terms of marketing, mm-hmm. buyers list, and then executing contracts? So it's like you've been evolving for a while.
Yeah, and I'm still evolving today. So like what I was telling the young lady here is, you want to go small, right? Ready niche, making $10, $12, $15,000 a month, right? That's where you start, because you want to get 1 deal a month. I think everybody here will be satisfied to be able to continuously do 1 deal a month. And once you find that pattern, right? It's like training yourself to run a marathon. You don't start with running 26 and a half miles, 27, whatever it is. You start by running a 5K, or in your backyard or in the local track running 1 mile and 1 mile and 1 mile. And once you figure that out, you now push 2.5 miles, 2.5 miles. And the way you're running is the same. You got the same shoes on, but now it's just a numbers game at that point. So when I was doing $15,000, $20,000 a month, it took this much data, this much cold calling, this much marketing, this much that. Now I'm at the point where I just told you my overhead's $30,000 a month. So I'm just doing more data, more cold calling, more this, more that. It's no rocket science. You know, instead of buying a list with 1,000 names, I buy lists now with 15,000 names on it. So I just broaden out what I'm doing. You're making more money, you're going to spend money on what works. And that's why as a business owner, it's very important to keep control of your KPIs, which is your key performance indicators. Like I run R&D in my business every day to the tune of probably, I spend about $5-8 grand a month in new marketing tactics that may or may not pan out. One month I bought 4 billboards in the city. I bought a vanity number too, still have it. Got 0 calls. Guess what I did with that? I trashed it. It cost me about $7,000. Not even a misdial, right? Like 0 calls. So I knew that billboards weren't a thing that worked in my market. And then I'll get some new data. I'll figure out another way. And it's my job as the CEO, the head guy, to always go out and network with people and find new ways. I'm constantly thinking of what's a new list? How can I stack something and find something? What are common problems people go through? And then how can I obtain that? Right? So that's when I was sitting down one day and I came up with the water list. I'm sure you guys have all heard me talk about it by now. And I'm thinking, one day I'm just sitting around thinking, I'm like, well, dang, what if houses don't have any water in it? You can't live with no water in your house, right? Essentially. So I'm like, I wonder if I can get a list with no water. Houses that have no water for 6 months or more. That's essentially vacant. Now, there is such thing as a vacant list, right? But what if the grass is maintained? What if somebody's checking the mail every 3 weeks, right? They wouldn't end up on what we typically call the vacant list. And they wouldn't look distressed because they got somebody cutting the grass once a month. So I need to find another way of finding the same person. And so you're always thinking of new ways. And I didn't tell anybody about that for like 8 months. I was just shooting fish in a barrel at that point. So you have to find new ways every time of how to solve new problems or old problems. Find new ways of finding old problems. And then as you get bigger, try to widen it out and get more and more, right? Because I talk about my deep list and my wide list, right? So when I was younger in the business, I only really focused on the deep stuff. I didn't go out and buy an entire absentee out-of-state list because it was too much. And I knew I would just be wasting money. But somebody on YouTube or somebody in a $500 course told me to buy it. So that's what, you know what I'm saying? So scaling is just numbers. You know, if you have a car dealership and you have 5 salespeople and now you buy more.
I don't know what to say.
No, and that's perfectly fine. Listen, he's outside of Nashville, about 45 minutes away. So, yeah, and yeah. Listen, you know how many wholesalers I've created in Winston-Salem, North Carolina?
I wouldn't know.
Every time I'm at a title company, there's 3 or 4 of them at title companies, right? But I don't have the scarcity mindset. Everybody can eat. Everybody can eat.
Yeah, you gotta get this.
So make sure you're coming to Davidson and Rutherford County. Are you planning to do any development, or are you sticking solely to wholesaling?
No. So as I've grown as a wholesaler, I do more buy and holds. I do some longer term things. I do listings on the MLS after I purchase them. I've stuffed money away in my IRA over the last couple of years, and that's like my personal retirement plan. Is I do a lot of things out of my IRA. I do transactional funding out of it. I do
Like 1031 exchange or something?
not really 1031. I mean, I'm just stuffing money in there, you know, trying to put as much money away. I haven't had enough big projects to do 1031s. But yeah, I'm just coming here to get my hands in anything I can. I'm wholesaling too, don't get it wrong. Yeah. I'll wholesale deal in a minute. Yeah. Makes sense.
Back when you first started, what was your full-time schedule like? Just that first year, you were just all in?
Yeah, I was all in. So So when I found out about wholesaling and started diving in, I was so into it. And any ladies back there that's standing up, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 seats up here. So y'all could come up here. And then a 5th one right here. So I loved wholesaling so much. Sleeping was like bad for me. I would grind my teeth at night as like not wanting to go to sleep or thinking about real estate as I'm like sleeping. So I got real because that first check really changed me. You know, I was 3 weeks in, made 14 grand, and I'm like, this is real. So it made me addicted to it, and I was really into it. But my schedule was pretty intense. I would be up on my county website, like dissecting it. Like I knew how to pull absentee owners list for free by the time I was done with that. If your county list has like a search query on it, just play with it. I mean, it's like they even had what's those alligator things? I was terrible in math. What's the alligator things when you go back, less than, equal than? You can use signs like that in the search query and find things. And that's how deep I've dived into wholesaling. Like I was in it heavy. But I would essentially take most of the night and I would skip trace data. I would look up data, skip trace it. And from about 8:30-ish till about 1 o'clock, I would call about maybe 100 to 200 people. I would call 200 people a day. That was my thing, every single day. And then the afternoon, I would schedule all my appointments. So essentially from like 2 on to like 6 p.m. would be all my appointments. So all day was in between them. And at night, I would prepare data so that it would be ready in the morning. And then once I started getting a couple deals, I hired my first VA, which is an administrator, and then they would skip at night, and I would wake up. I can get a full night's of sleep, and they would skip at night. They would pull data at night, and then I would have phone calls to make in the morning, and then my afternoon were all set on appointments. Now, there was occasional times where I would do appointments in the morning, but most of the time I try to keep that schedule where, look, you know, I'm telling them I'm like part-time. I get off of work at 2 o'clock. I can come anywhere between 2 and 6, stuff like that. But work around your schedule. But be real obsessed. I tell people and then make sure you cut out all this unnecessary stuff in your life. Like, I haven't watched football in 3 seasons now. I haven't watched basketball. I know that the Golden State and Toronto are playing in the finals, right? But that's all I know. So I don't consume anything that doesn't help me. I'm very, I just blocked it all out. You cannot call me to go out and grab a drink. None of that stuff. Because I spent all my waking hours on the computer trying to figure out how much free data, how much free things were, how many free resources were available to me right on my fingertips. And that's how I became obsessed with it. And everybody can do that. It's like how bad you want it. Like most people are willing to go work 40, 50, even 60 hours a week for somebody else for $12, $13, $15 an hour, right? Like 50 hours a week, and you can't spend a Sunday researching on your computer. That's just weird to me. Now, don't get it twisted. I was one of them, right? But then something clicked in my mind that, yo, this guy can buy a whole week from me for $500. My whole week, right? For $500. Think about that. That's what most people can get bought for. So the reality is, that's not even take home. So if you're not willing to put at least that effort into yourself, then you better enjoy being an employee, right? But you gotta step back and look at the big picture and be like, yo, even $1,000 a week. Like, yo, somebody could buy me for $1,000 a week. Dang. Right? I turned down $25,000, $30,000 speaking engagements because I don't want to go. So now you have your life just in that short amount of time, from eating ramen noodles in my mom's attic to turning down $30,000 speaking engagements. That's where you can make the difference, right? So everybody here can do it. Everybody in this room. I'm not the smartest person. You guys know my backstory. right? So it's just you have to be obsessed and really know your value. I think that's the biggest thing, is know what you're actually valued. And once you know that, you be like, now I'm gonna keep going to my $500 a week job because I gotta pay these bills. But when I get off of work, I'm not gonna go indulge in Netflix or this Game of Thrones, or I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones, right? So like, you gotta go put them same 8 hours into yourself, right? Like this dude, right? He's big, right? He's been in the gym. You in there pumping consistently week after week after week. It's the time you got to put into yourself to get to that position, right? You gotta put that time into yourself more than you put in than somebody else can be. Because if that's the case, I would love to employ a lot of you for $500 a week.
Better get in your driver's fund today.
You see what I'm saying? So. And I just did the math for you. I can spend 3 months of salary for 2 people for $2,800. 3 months for $2,800, and they potentially can make me 100 grand. Right? And that's what you guys are doing for somebody else. So try to put that time into yourself, man. That's the big thing. Learn to value yourself. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. Something that has been kind of like been on my mind. Well, every time like I call a seller, I don't say I'm a real estate investor because if you meet up, like they won't. I don't believe they won't believe me. So I say I work with a local investment group, and my job is to collect all the information and all that stuff. But when it's time to fill out the contract, if it's my name isn't there, if they ask me like, are you buying the house? I will have an answer for them. That's like
So what I would say is create a story, right? So I've had a lot of young people that were successful at going around that. And you just need to create a story for yourself on who you are, right? Because if you told me that you inherited some money from your grandfather or wherever, I don't know, and he always wanted you to be in real estate, and you're now buying your first, that's a better strategy than coming at somebody as an investor. Like, hey, Tom, my name's, what's your name?
Jose.
My name's Jose. I'm 18.
19.
I'm 19. And my grandfather was in real estate, and he left me some money, and I'm looking for my second investment property.
So like in just starting off.
Yeah, because a lot of people love to help other people. I mean, that's just how we program as humans. Even though most people are a-holes, they always still want to help. Everybody has a teacher inside of them, right? So be honest.
They'll believe what you tell them as long as you believe it.
Exactly. Right. If you study that story 1,000 times, and this guy has a house in Alabama and lives in South Carolina, he might be more willing to sell it to you because maybe he sees him young self in you, or he wished his son was more like you.
Yeah, I believe there's people out there like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, don't wait, because if I was 19 and I knew about wholesaling, oh my God. Like seriously, I was in Iraq at 19. So like I'm telling you, you could be a very dangerous person because first of all, you already understand the concept of investing in yourself and coming here today and knowing about something where you can make a lot of money without starting. By the time you're 21, if you're still doing this, if you give yourself 2 years in this business, don't go switch. Don't go jump on Bitcoin when it goes up again, or don't get into drop shipping and all that crap. Like if you stay this course for the next 2 years, you're gonna be a wealthy man. Some of these people in here be working for you. It's just no, it's just how it works.
Yeah, I'm committed to do this until I don't have any options. This is the thing that I have to do.
And that's where I was. My back was against the wall, and luckily your back is against the wall at 19. So, I was 30. So think about that. You know what I mean? You got 11-year head start on me. That's dope. So just keep studying, become obsessed. Get somebody older to make the phone calls for you. I don't care. Get somebody older to go on appointments. I don't know. You could figure it out. Because there's guys that'll go on that appointment for you for $500. You know what I'm saying? So maybe somebody in here will help you out. You don't never know. Next question?
Yes. So I want to ask you about, you do probate, right?
I love probate.
So what is something that you do? What is it like as far as how do you approach it? Is it the same with any other list that you pull? Just
yeah, because essentially when you're calling a problem, you're not identifying the problem.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you're just asking about the house. You're not calling, hey, Miss Smith, I know your dad died 2 weeks ago. You think about selling that house he was living in? No. Or hey, Miss Smith, looking to see that you're about to lose your house to foreclosure. You want to sell it to me? You know, it's hey, Miss Smith, my name is such and such. I'm a local investor here in Nashville. I was wondering if you had any interest in selling 123 Main Street. You just are the right thing that called at the right time for that person, or the wrong time, right? So if you call at the right time and you know what? Actually, I was thinking about selling. What are you gonna give me? Well, I wish it was that easy. But I'm glad you're open to selling. You got 5 minutes we can talk? It's that simple. Like you don't want to make it difficult. You don't want to come off like this big investment group. I never come off with this. I don't care if I got $1 billion to spend on somebody's money. I would rather have that small town approach. And that's the difference between you and Zillow and Redfin. When every time I see people post, oh, you know, Keller Williams is getting in the home buying business. They don't get it. Let them do it. You know? Yeah. So they can't be you.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's it? Yeah.
Being that we're down south, how do we capitalize on things like flood areas, tornadoes, and stuff like that?
Just study it, right? Because you look at like certain parts of Houston, right? There's contractors. Now here's one thing that you should try to get. A bunch of y'all team up and buy the contractors list. There's a database of all the contractors in the United States. And if all of y'all get together and buy it, then you can share it with somebody in a different state, because you buy every single state. And there's certain contractors that specialize in putting these houses on stilts or whatever, I don't know. There's somebody that invests in those areas. You know, there's landlords that only buy in the hood. There's landlords that will only buy $500,000 houses or more. Everybody has an investment strategy. You just have to find the right person that it fits. So just study it. Find out what happens. Become an expert. Be the guy that walks in like the adjuster and says, yep, it's going to be $70,000. We got to rip this, do this. We got to do this test, blah, blah, blah. It's going to cost me $70,000 because you know the guy next to you is going to pay, he's going to say it's 50 grand. You sell it to him. Right? There's guys that specialize in making bank like that. There's a guy that I met at We Live 19. He has like the largest structural engineer firm in North Texas. Guess what houses he loves? Houses with foundational issues. He loves them because most people are going to walk away from them. He's going to make all the bank in the world because he understands it. Right? So be like that. You know, just study it. Just study it. Be the brain surgeon. Don't be a general practitioner.
It's a good point, Max. With my first buyer, I had a burned house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and man, I called a bunch of contractors trying to find somebody just to give me a quote. What was it going to take to fix this thing up? So I just got on Google, contractors. I started calling them from the top down. I found this company that says, man, we do that all day long.
Yep.
I said, really? I said, well, I've got this house I'm selling. Oh, well, we buy houses too.
And that's what I mean by buying the contractors list. One of the biggest buyers in my town owns a custom home construction company. Huge. I mean, he buys everything. Like the last deal we sold him, we made $26,000 on assignment. You know what he did? He turned around and assigned it to one of his friends for $10,000 more. I'm like, what the hell, John? You know, so there's guys that specialize in. There's a guy that just emailed me the other day. Let me see. He has a list, and this is what I mean by getting detailed. Let me not lie to you and see if I can find this. Fire damage. Oh, there he goes. There's a guy named Tom Kim that owns a company called firedamageproperties.com. He literally gets the database of every single house that catches on fire in the United States. And he'll sell you the data per the county or wherever you want. So check out his website, firedamageproperties.com. And he literally hit me up and was like, hey, you want the list in these counties you work in? I'm like, yeah, send them to me. Because why not? Like the moment the smoke is out, he's sending me a list of houses that have been burnt. That's a great niche. That's a great problem to solve. You see what I mean? Yes, sir.
We live in a really small town, like 3,000 to 4,000 people. All the deals there, and we're working with people now, talking to them. Should we focus what time we have there, or we're about an hour and a half to 2 hours from like Louisville, Kentucky, or Lexington? Should we pour more time into those areas? I know you'd have to travel, but
yeah. So 3,000 people is real small. That's my high school. I think we graduated 1,800 people in our class. Now there's probably the biggest landlord probably in that town, right? There's that guy. Yeah. Okay. So you need to service them in that county, and then start doing some of your marketing outside of it, because the pool of everything is just so small there, right? There you go. So you need to service those 2 people. And then he's probably even going to go around you when you bring him a deal, because it's just that small of a town. But don't discourage. I mean, there's people that Brian Rigbo is in Beaumont, Texas. Nothing, Texas is what it's called. So you can do that, and he's about an hour away from Houston, and he's doing deals in Houston as well, right? He's just focus what you have there locally, but also play in your backyards as well. I would do that. Yes, ma'am.
In reference to taxes, I don't want to work as hard and give half of the money away to the government. What can you tell us what you've learned thus far in reference to taxes?
Anybody here work for the IRS? So there is ways to structure your entities, and the best person I've learned this from is Mr. Robinson. You can structure your entities. So even though I'm the only owner in my company, I'm not the sole owner. Every LLC I have is a dual member. Another company owns another piece of it. I pay that company a management fee every year. I actually work for the management company and not the company that's doing business. Like, it could get real deep here, right? I only make about 50 grand a year. Hate to tell you guys that. So there's different tax ways. I've looked into self-directed IRAs. You can stuff money into those accounts. It's a huge benefit they don't tell you anything about. You know, unfortunately, Uncle Sam's gonna get his. You just want to minimize, and one way is to own more real estate. So that's why I own more properties. Now, one thing I love doing is owning subject to properties, because I can pick up a $250,000 house for about 8 grand in cash and make the payments, and I get the tax benefit of making those interest payments, and I get the benefit of owning a $250,000 house that I get to write, you know, all those rapid depreciations off, right? I can just go so deep, but there's so many tax strategies you can to reduce the amount of money you give Uncle Sam, but believe he's going to get his regardless. But entity structure and rapid depreciations are probably one of the best ways, in self-directed IRAs. Yes, sir.
I've been watching that, and you've been doing religious.
Thank you.
But one thing I kind of been curious about is, like, what do you do day in, day out that like, recenters your day? Like, I know I seen something about a gratitude journal and things like that. You do, that kind of brings you back whole at the end of the day. That kind of refocus you back. So I know it's business, but I know it has to.
Yeah. I think I'm still learning that every day. I don't have a good answer for that. I think being around, you know, people like you guys that are striving to get better helps me become better. On a daily basis, I get to regurgitate, you know, my best practices. and I don't allow myself to forget. And I'm naturally still hungry. Like I still actively, I'm in this business day to day. I mean, we drove for dollars the other day for probably about 3 hours in Rutherford County. Like there's this huge neighborhood in was it Smyrna or something? Laverne. Oh my God. Who built 5,000 houses in the neighborhood? And they still building. You could drive through there for 4 days and never go on every street. So I went driving in there. Just you know, the fire still burns in me heavy. So I don't have a problem of being motivated. Sometimes I can get lost in the sauce and get unfocused by cussing somebody out on Facebook, something like that, and ruining my whole day. That happens. I mean, I'm human, you know? But I think just educating and being able to talk to people really helps me remember like the basics. And every time you get an advanced, like if you get to Tiger Woods level, like to where he started messing up, he had to go back to the basics. And I think me regurgitating the basics on a daily basis is kind of helped me not forget how to navigate the field. And it's really just keeping it simple. How can I own a part of a brokerage in North Carolina?
How do you find out about these smart tax strategies? Like, what kind of tax advisor would you go to?
I just go around people that are smarter than me. So when you find a tax professional, make sure the tax professional actually does what you do, right? So find a tax professional that actually invests in real estate and purchase property and has rentals, because that tax professional is going to look at the rules that benefit them the most and how they do rapid deduction and all that stuff. Do not just go with your blanket CPA. Do not go with your blanket attorney, because they don't know anything, right? Just because they got that thing on the door. There's a lot of dumb people, period. And just because you can graduate school, hey, that's it. It don't mean you know anything. You know enough to pass a test.
What about your Airbnbs?
I'm testing them. I love them.
Yeah.
It's another way to take a little bit of money and have this infinity return on it, right? Like I'm taking newer houses that are in pre-foreclosure. So who had that pre-foreclosure question? I take that house, I do a little bit of rehab, I reinstate the loan, I have a very low, because most of these people got like 4.3 interest rates. Like you can't, like they're not, well I know, well the interest rates are back down I think, but the point is they got these interest rates and the loan's not in my name. It doesn't affect my debt to income ratio, right? And then I own the property, I own the real property, they own the mortgage. But I solved the problem for them. And then by doing that, fix up the house. And this is the next stage in your career, right? When you have some money and you're able to go in and spend some money. So we did that, and the Airbnb and the market, make sure you're in the right market, is doing well. There's a website called airdna.co. It's an analytical tool that they use real data from Airbnb to tell you the actual income of that Airbnb right there next door. So it tells you if you're in a hot market. Yes, sir.
When you were scaling, what was the first marketing strategy you used? Well, what was the marketing strategy you used when you first started scaling that from back in Orleans?
So I did it. So the same thing I was doing when I was just not scaling, I just did it on a bigger scale. Right, so for example, I did probate and taxes. I loved them. So instead of me running to the courthouse on like every other day or daily, I hired somebody, this old lady that had an iPhone, and she can do exactly what I said she'd do, and then she would scan triple the amount of leads I had and then send those to my VA, who would then translate them on an Excel sheet for them to go out to be skip trace so I can then make my 200 phone calls in the morning. So I just created systems around what I was doing, and then I started firing myself from those systems and then paying people to do a singular job to kind of compartmentalize so people didn't know what each person had to do. This lady she only knew what she thought I was doing. But she scanned death records for me and probate records at the office for $125 a week. Right? It was just extra money for her, gambling money at the casino, I don't know.
How do you find these people?
Craigslist ads, referrals. Like that person was a friend of my mom's mother, like one of my mom's friend's mother. Okay. Like was reasonably still active and just wanted some extra, like retired.
How are you training them?
I took them down there.
Okay.
Yeah, I took them down there because the courthouse is, I took them down there and said, hey, look, this is what I look for. This is what I do. This person was still savvy, obviously, had an iPhone. And this is what I'm looking for. And you're going to scan this document, scan it. And I bought the app on their iPhone for them. And once you're done at night, get connected to the Wi-Fi and hit this button here. Put the email in there. And while you're sleeping, it's going to send everything to Alexis. Right? And that's it. And I was like, I'll pay you under the table every single week.
Okay, so with your like marketing and everything like that, are you making videos and sending them off to you?
Yes. So, well, yeah, for most of so for my Driving for Dollars team that we hired, we created this, we went out, me and my brother filmed some videos, we executed, we said, this is not the type of house we want. This is the type of house we want. Yeah. This is how you take the picture. Make sure you're wearing your vest. This is what you say if a police officer stops you. This is what you say. So, just stuff like that. I mean, literally, that's what we did. And we sat them in a room. They watched the video. People people don't actually show up to interviews anymore. Yeah. People are filling out applications to get their unemployment benefits. Wow. Right? It's a requirement to fill out applications. I don't know if you knew that. But I learned that by hiring people. So a lot of people never show up to the interview. And then I fired people already just because they just try to game the system. And you just find your person that just enjoys driving around, taking pictures, and can actually do what you say. So you go from 10 people down to 2. And then you scale that operation. And then I had to train people how to be half as good as I was on the phone. Yeah. But instead of having 1 of me, I get 6 of me. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's just, that's how you scale. That's the move up.
How are you hiring out for your like niche list and everything like that? So I find it hard for me to.
Those get harder and harder.
List.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling, you know what I mean? Like values and everything that you have in there. It's hard for me to pass that on to somebody else, so I'm still spending hours on those lists. But those are my most productive lists, though.
Yep, it's hard. I know what you mean. So
make a video, say, hey, do this, but also if this happens, there's too many variables, I feel like.
Yeah, it's something that you're going to have to train and hope somebody can be 75% of what you were. And that's when my brother graduated, my older brother, he went back to school, he graduated from college, and he was about to go into his field that he graduated from, and I said, nope. And I brought him up, and I said, I need somebody I can trust, and I put him in my office, I gave him a salary, and I gave him a percentage of sales, and I said, I need you the most trustworthy thing, this is what I need you to be doing. Because I need to be traveling, I need to be talking to people, rubbing elbows with the right people, so I can grow this thing. Yeah. So you're never gonna find somebody like you. Michael Jordan can't train another Michael Jordan. You're just not that person.
Hey man, how's a young cat that you were training that went off on his own? How's he doing?
I seen him about 3 weeks ago. I think he's done 2 or 3 deals. He said, small margins. He's learning. He's 19. Like he can fail for 10 more years, who cares, right? So, he went out on his own. He thought the grass was greener on the other side. Nothing wrong with that, right? Because he's an entrepreneur. You can't really stop that fire in somebody. But, I think he would have done better as a person, as a businessman, and as an entrepreneur if he would have stayed around and learned some more core values. But, each person's got their own path. That's it.
Have you had acquisition reps like change on you and do their own thing?
I'm suing one of my good friends now for a lot of money because they took some leads and put some houses under contract. Huh?
You can sue for that?
Yeah, because they were an employee.
Are you doing non-competes?
Yep. So I'm doing 18-month non-competes, non-disclosures for obvious reasons. And then there's you can sue anybody for anything, but there's an ethical thing that you can't take things from your company and steal leads and try to do the same thing your company was doing. You don't even need a non-compete for that. A judge is just going to slap the person when they come into court. So, do things to protect yourself as you're growing. Every phone call in my company is recorded in or outbound. It's banked in the cloud. We have that. So, we protect them. I'm learning. Now, it's not fun to sue a friend. You know, somebody slept on your couch at one point. But it's just part of something you got to do because you got to set an example. Somebody's got to be the first to get sued. Right? So. And that's part of, be honest, the negative side of me being Maxwell is that people want to work for me that have no intentions of working for me. So when we have people that do interviews, we never tell them what company they work for. I don't do any of the interviews myself, and they're usually held off-site. So just some of the extra challenges that I face. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
What made you get into Facebook and really in YouTube and putting and doing that whole thing?
Was not on purpose.
What was the reason for it for you?
When I made my first video, it was because I wanted to hold myself accountable. I did not think anybody was going to watch it. It was like a document of what I was doing. Right, that first video in the car of me holding the camera, no intentions that I would have a full staff of 4 people that just follow me around with cameras. But now there's an intent, I intentionally do it. I see that it's helping people, right? It makes money. I'm an entrepreneur. It's a branding thing. So I use this to my advantage when I can, and there's disadvantages to it. But I can move into any market at any time. So I'm leveraging whatever I can, right? It's not all down. There's upsides too, but I do see a lot of people trying to do it and not do the business. And I think the reason why most of you guys are here is because you probably not really do the business. I'm not selling you that. There's nobody outside of the table going to sell you something. And not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just not my style. I buy other companies. I buy companies that you may use. And you never hear me run around saying, oh, use REI Skip, use REI Skip, or use REI Rail, or use this, or use that. But as an entrepreneur, I'm going to buy things that in the field that I work in. And if you use them, great. If not, then I lose money. But it doesn't matter. You know, it just is what it is.
So Max, talk about this because you met Gary Vee. He had a podcast recently that really struck home for me because just culturally it checks some boxes. And he talked about there's some folks out there who don't need to be buying right now. They need to rent. If they're really going to pour all themselves, all their money, all their resources into their dream, they need to be renting. And they also don't need to be driving BMWs. They need to have a Honda Accord or a Toyota.
And next thing you know, you got 200 salesmen, and you're now doing bigger numbers than you were year 1 from year 10. So I know it sounds very elementary. What I'm saying is, it's just a numbers game. When you're scaling, that's it.
Yeah, because I think for me, and again, I'm going back to the point where you see the bandit signs, right? You throw out $150, $250 on that. It's summertime. I was telling this gentleman a few moments ago, you know, the municipalities are cutting grass now, so they're just throwing their truck, they drive away with them. Right?
You have to know that.
Right. Right, so I'm in Rutherford County, I understand that, right? And then you go through the list source, okay? Now here's my bundle of 500 numbers. Now I've got to decide, am I going to bulk postcard them? Am I going to hire someone from Craigslist or Fiverr to write some, you know, authentic handwritten yellow letters? Do I jazz them up? And so now it's like, what avenue of this marketing is going to, you know, drive the highest ROI, right? It's going to give me the biggest return. And I think what you're saying is it just becomes a volume thing. That you just the more you make, maybe, or at some point you say, hey, here's my budget for marketing, and then and not only that, you just want to be consistent. Consistency is the big thing. I don't put out as much bandit signs in the middle of the summer. They're just cutting the grass more often now. So I know I've been around long enough to know that they're going to be up every single 4 days now. So now we're not putting out as many. So I just need to think of other ways and employ different tactics and all types of stuff. I've recently hired full-time drivers, people that come to my office every day. All they do is drive for 8 hours. Right? That's part of, they look for houses on the Deal Machine app. That's it. So now I've tried to scale that operation to see what is going to work. And I've dedicated 90 days of 2 full-time drivers, right? Contractors, essentially, that drive all day long looking for properties. And I want to scale to see how efficient that is, right?
You pay them per lead?
I pay them by the hour. I pay them a set salary, yeah.
You give them like a limit, like a...
like how many they have to bring? Yeah, absolutely.
Does it have to be quality?
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a right. But so me and my brother, he's my COO. We talk about quality versus quantity, and it's kind of like we want to be the filter. We don't want them to be, right? So bring me everything, and let it filter through our brains and not your. You right?
It's still a number.
Yeah, I don't want the $10 an hour guy filtering $15,000 leads, right? You see what I'm saying?
How has that worked for you so far?
It's young. It's worked. We've got 1 deal from it so far, but driving for dollars always worked for us. But it's now doing it at scale. Can I bring in 5 deals a month from driving for dollars? Can I pay? So I'm paying $350 a week, right? So these are essentially what I did is I found the Uber rate in my city and I matched it. So instead of having people in your car, you're just driving around, right? So now I'm taking rideshare drivers and saying, and you can even split your time. You can rideshare and do me, right? So I need them to just keep bringing in and see if I can scale it. So $350 a week times 4 is, I don't know, somebody do the math. So $1,400. Can I spend $1,400 or can I spend $2,800 and make a month? Can I spend $2,800 and make 40 grand? You see where I'm going? Right? So that's for me in my company to spend $3,000 to test something. So to spend $9,000 over a 90-day period, that's rocks for us. So we might as well do it. You have to look at it like that, because the reality is 1 deal over 90 days pays for everybody. Right? So if I can get 5 of them, then we're rocking. And that's how I look at it in the scaling process. And that's the stuff that when I'm sitting on planes, and that's what I try to figure out to do.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead, sir. And now you next.
What are some of the ways to structure like smaller margin deals? Like I know in the Facebook group, you constantly see the question asked, is this a deal or no deal? And they post the kind of numbers like that's outside of the seller financing.
So let me see if I get your question right. So you're saying houses with lesser margin that you need to go into more creative
structuring. Yeah, without doing, you know, subject to, et cetera. Is that like determined by your buyers list, you know, what they'll purchase, what they're willing to buy? Yeah, so I'm very open with this. Subject twos is an advanced investor strategy, and it's something you really need to get educated on before you really dive into it. Now, I do them. Am I the best at them where I feel comfortable enough up here telling you step A through Z? No. Yeah, that's I'm right. Yeah, no. I just happen to have Mr. Tony Robinson on my side. I could pick up the phone and, you know, you were in the meeting with me on Friday, and I got my ass chewed out by the seller because I had something set up incorrectly, and you know what I mean. I could have at that point I could have lost $21,000, but luckily we smoothed it over and we were able to fix it. And that's why I don't go around talking about something I'm not too adverse about. You know what I mean? But you know, I have this theory of no lead left behind, or no problem unsolved. Now sometimes you do have to let a problem go unsolved. You're not the person for it. But the people you put in your tool belts, the team you build, and I'm not necessarily saying people on your payroll, but the team you build, such as I had Nicole on the podcast recently talking about short sales. Now, she's somebody you don't have to pay. But essentially what happens is you can go the easiest, what I call unicorns or wholesale deals. One call, you got it, locked it up, sold it. Those are unicorns, right, in our business. All the way to listing it on the MLS. When you say that, you're referring to the typical, the 30%, you know. Well, not necessarily those deals are unicorns, but the one phone call. Okay. The 2 phone calls, right? It happens, we get them. But those are not typical. So you got to think, who can I put on my team to solve these deals? So you need to be able to solve a wholesaling deal all the way to short sales to listing on the MLS. You want to leave that seller, that potential seller, right? Because I know what certain leads cost me. Like I know every time somebody clicks on my website, it's $83, whether they do anything or not, right? So I need to be able to do something with that person, even if I don't really make money. I need to get them to the finish line, even if it's not with me. So that just comes with education. So really just hang out with some smarter people. That's what I did. So like, not your average realtor, like a realtor that's been in the business for a while, solved a lot of problems. And sub-twos are a great way to make money. I have a sub-two Airbnb, a beautiful house that I would live in if it was closer to in the town. But you know, that house cost me $950 a month, and it'll make about $4 grand a month in the Airbnb money. So, you know, and all I did was save that with, I did use my cash to save it, but I saved it with about $7,000 or $8,000. So just, you gotta really, just indulge yourself in this. I know you're eager. Most people are eager to get their first deal, but just find somebody that you can talk to real estate about and just dive into it.
Joint venture.
Yeah. And always joint venture. Always joint venture. What's your story? How long have you been started? Because we went out and had a cigar like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, just since January.
Since January, and how many deals have you done so far?
9 deals.
9 deals since January. And that's just diving deep. All the way in. And that just goes to show you, and you're in a suburb of Tennessee. You're not even in correct. So what do you do that's most effective? Are you on the phones?
So, believe it or not, the bandit signs do work. My first bandit sign made $20,000 at Lowe's. So Lowe's are only people. That's where people who are with houses, they're fixing them up. That's where they're going.
But to his attribute, it's the consistency of the bandit signs that got him that deal. It's not just putting them out. Oh my God, they didn't work. It's putting them out. They didn't work. Okay, let's go back again and again.
And location. Small towns, you do better with bandit signs.
I believe so too. Yeah, cities are more sticklers. Especially like tourist cities like here, they don't want people to see them. But right outside certain towns, man, sometimes they work like charm. So the cool part about coming to these is obviously, I don't know how many people, 30 people in this room right now. It's cool to network with people. And I think in this room, you'll be able to find a good synergy. Because even though I'm in this market, I'm in and out of this market.
So when I get on my plane tomorrow to go back to North Carolina, you guys are still going to be here. And I think that's the most important part for you guys to meet some people in here. How many of you guys cash buy? I mean, you buy some stuff for yourself. There goes 2 guys right there, right? So you can ask them questions, and maybe the right question, you know, like where are you buying? Like, why do you buy it this way? What do you want me to go get for you? Right? That's a good way to start. You want to pay off? Ask them what you want them. I said, what do you want and where you want it?
What do you need right now?
Right? So talk to them. So before we get out of here, we got to leave in about 15 minutes. Network. Spend the next time networking. I'm gonna go use the restroom, fix my contact. Y'all sit here. I'll come back in. But network with each other. You know what I mean? Find out where he's buying, why he's buying, what margins he need in this neighborhood. You know what I mean? And anybody in Nashville should be doing that, because if they're buying, they actively know what their friends are buying. If he's buying, he's got friends that buy, and they got friends that buy. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the whole purpose of that. And then you have people that could be just 2 months ahead of you that know something that you don't know, especially particular to this market. So spend the next 15 minutes like networking. I'm gonna go fix my contact, and I'll be right back. Cool? Yeah. It's really just keeping it simple. Make sure you understand you're not in the real estate business. You're in a customer service, problem-solving business, and you're in the marketing business. So if you can remember that, you just happen to solve problems in the real estate world. That makes sense. So I hope that kind of answered. But the real answer is I'm a work in progress myself. Anybody else? What time we got? Oh, we still got time.
You ever think about doing trailer parks?
Yeah, so man, I'm negotiating a deal right now. It's a 70-unit trailer park, 33 acres in somewhere around my town. And I don't have any experience. I've never bought one, but I'm working with, like, I called some guys to get some help, and it may or may not work out, but yeah, it's hot. I'm only doing it to sell it because it's a hot. So I zig when most people zag. That makes sense? So trailer parks are hot. I'm gonna go get them to sell them to people that want to follow trends. You know what I mean? So yeah, trailer parks are definitely, because in North Carolina, I think in general, they're not allowing you to create any more trailer parks. And I think that's probably safe to say around the country. They just don't want them anymore. So trying to and hedge funds are after them like crazy right now. So if you can get them, get them. That's it? Yeah.
Going back to the no lead left behind idea. So if you've got a lot of leads coming in, you're gonna have a lot of retail leads that get sprinkled in there. Do you have a systematic way to where you're really capitalizing on those by having, you know, maybe a couple of agents that you're close with, that you're sending those to and actually using it as a good revenue stream to come in? Yeah, so Francis is actually a licensed agent for 12 years. And we're in the process of actually building probably one of the largest brokerages in North Carolina. Nice. So our leads that go retail are in-house. Gotcha. So that's why it's cool to have Francis on my team. Francis has an office in my office. So I'm not a licensed broker. He independently leases space in my office, and that's where he conducts his business. Cool. So find somebody like that, because there's a lot of brokers that fear. They don't understand. Yeah, they fear. They don't understand, but they fear of actually going out on their own. Yeah. So I help Francis out. I created his website with Carrot. Carrot has an agent website. I don't know if most people know that. But yeah, you can partner with the right realtor and broker and use it to your advantage.
I want to hear how you really got to working with Francis, because I always look.
I sold him a house. I sold him a house.
Plenty of them?
I sold him a house he lives in right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a wholesale deal I got, and I sticked a sign in the yard, and he actually lived in the neighborhood already, but he wanted a bigger house because he's got his girls and his wife, and we started talking, we became friends, and he was like, hey, you got properties? I was like, yeah. He was like, well, that's what I do. I'm gonna you know, I flip these for these investors. I'm a broker, but I mainly deal in the investment side. So we started talking, and then I started selling him like 3-4 deals a month. And then I was like, we should partner together. And I took advantage of his weakness, which was organization and having office space and really thinking bigger. And I brought him in and was like, listen, we can knock this out. Now, Francis and I don't own anything together. Now, we actually do own a couple houses together, but the business is mine and he does his thing, but then we partner on certain things.
Yeah, he's acquisition too.
Yeah, Francis is a do-all, but he lacks organization. So he can't never really just get out on his own.
I try to add value to real estate, but it's hard to
find the right ones. They're out there. They're hungry. And that when I realized that I could have an advantage by owning a brokerage with 200 agents, that's kind of the direction I'm going right now.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Trying to grow every day. I still fail too.
So tell me why that's an advantage. I want to understand that. Why is it an advantage for you to have a broker with agents? Is it just for retail deals, or is there?
No, because essentially you create an army that they pay you to work. Right? So agents pay a desk fee.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? And if you can educate them or give them, if you can have an upper advantage to most brokerages, you can bring in agents. Agents have to hang their license somewhere. So why not hang it at the new fun shop in town, right? And when they're new agents coming in, if you just came off the street and you got your license, I can then show you two sides of the coin. And I know I got you for at least 2 years because you can't become a broker for 2 years in the state of North Carolina. So I got 2 years of you paying me a desk fee and splitting your deals with me 95-5 or 90-10 to go out and work, and wholesale deals, you get a different split. So why not create a local army by having a brokerage?
So they're learning retail and they're learning the deal that they don't have payments on, so they can reallocate those funds to this dream that they want, you know? So talk about, I guess, what that looks like or what that looked like for you when you really realized that if I'm gonna, you know, not just the time, but if I'm gonna pour all my resources, all my energy into this thing, what are some of the things I have to sacrifice to get there?
I was one of those guys.
Yeah.
You know, I had the S550 Mercedes. I had things to really make other people happy more than probably myself because I thought I was supposed to have it. Right? You had a job, you're making 90,000. You're supposed to get an S-Class, stupid. Right? No, you're not. You're actually not. Because you're always setting yourself back. Right? It's never about how much money you make, it's how much you keep. Right? I know guys that run wholesaling companies now that run on like a 12% margin. Right? Yeah, they're doing 20 deals a month, and you're making the same money if you were doing 3 deals by yourself. You get what I'm saying? But you know, you have to make that sacrifice. I think you kind of always got to live below whatever your means are. And that's just like kind of life lesson. I think this is the most successful I've ever been in my life, monetary wise. And I think I've probably reached what I thought was success about 3 times in my life before I got to this point. And every single time I fucked it up. Sorry for anybody that, every single time I messed it up, right? Because I thought that when you got to this level, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. I was always thinking like internally, and I never thought like out, right? So that whole somebody needs you to be rich, right? Because there's always going to be those people in your family that's like, I'm retiring my mom. My mom has 0 retirement plan. Well, guess who needs me to be rich? Right? I have to create that retirement plan so she lives a comfortable life whenever she decides that she's done working. Right? 2 of my brothers work for me. I pay for my sister's college. So other people need me to be rich, and I'm sure there's other people like that around you that need you to be rich. So you have to make that sacrifice. And I think what a lot of people in this world, and by the way, driving that S550 when you actually have money feels a lot better, right? Because you can do, you know, it just feels a lot different. But, you know, I think a lot of people don't believe what 2 years or 3 years of sacrifice can do for you in the big grand scheme of things. Like how many people, you know, they say, what is it, over 50% of Americans can't afford a $600 emergency right now? That's true, I was one of them. So I believe that. Like a $600 cash emergency, can't do it.
But you got the S550.
But you got the S550 though, right? And that's true. You know, I was just talking to somebody the other day. I was like, yo, I'm gonna pull up to the seller's house and, they ain't gonna ask me proof of funds. I drive a S63 and AMG, and I'm like, but he's telling me he's only got $4 grand left in his entire account, right? So, you gotta kind of like scale back. Like, I'd rather have a decent Toyota than a S550 that I know I can't, month to month, I don't know how I'm gonna make that payment. You know what I mean? So, sorry, contact's coming out. So I would really like scale back and just think about like things that you absolutely need. And you have a family? Absolutely. So you got even more sacrifices to make because you got other people that really depend on you. Like people that you brought in this world. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just got my mom. She brought me in this world. So, sorry, my contact want to act up. But yeah, so that's kind of the thing, man. Just make a sacrifice. I think everybody in here, no matter what, if it's this real estate or whatever it is, make that sacrifice of really just 2 years of just straight hustle and blocking out what society says is normal. And you'll be surprised what you can get to in like 2 years.
And it struck home for me too, because I was the same guy, right? I was single prior to family, and I buy a car every week, every year. And then I got to a point where, okay, I got to do this entrepreneurial thing, and it's like, I got to make some sacrifices. If I got this, $500-600 car note, that doesn't make sense. I can just go out and buy a, Corsica Accord or whatever, and I can redirect this $600 car note into more marketing, list source, whatever that thing is. So.
But that's a trap, and that's why people can be bought for $500 or $1,000 a week. Because of something simple like you need to buy that S550. And if you don't go to work this week, you can't make that payment next week. So just make those simple sacrifices and I think you're gonna be fine. Anybody else? I don't think I can see out my right eye, but that's fine. There we go. That's it?
S550, bro. Did you get it again?
Huh?
Did you get your left again?
I prefer not to say. Like I'm not a flashy person. Like I don't like a Lamborghini's for me, not because like people are supposed to have it. Like I had a Diablo on my wall. I don't know if you know, that's like the old, yeah. So that's like the old style, what is now like the Aventador. I had that on my wall as a kid, not because somebody else thought it was cool, because I like that thing. So if I buy the Lamborghini, or if I got the Lamborghini, it's because it's for me. It's not for social media.
I just been asking you on social media for a long time.
I know. I know.
Since we face to face.
It's cool. It won't make you any better.
No, I just want to.
I know. I'm just messing. It ride good though. So, and it's so September 28th or 26th, I can't remember, will be my 3-year anniversary in this business. So that goes to show you that how much it can swing. It can swing in your favor if you just put that dedication down. And you know what? Things like, I don't even miss football. I truly do not miss football. Dave, like he's the head of my media. He used to watch all the sports. He been hanging out with me. He don't watch anything anymore. He'll catch like baseball highlights on Instagram. That's it. So there's just the small things in order to get your time back. I did binge watch some Netflix 2 nights ago. Yeah, I watched a 4-part series, like 4 hours of Netflix. It's the most TV I've watched in like 2 years. Oh, you know what I watch? Yeah.
I got a question. Who do you know in Memphis? That's my city.
You drove all the way from Memphis?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no barbecue with you. Yeah, that's all right.
Do I know anybody in Memphis? I know people that used to work in Memphis a lot. I know Jalen White is, I believe he's still virtually in Memphis. Spencer Shadrack, you ever heard that name?
I have.
Spencer Shadrack. He's young in the game too, but he's moving. Spencer, I don't know how to spell his last name. You can find him, Spencer Shadrack. I think that's his name.
Yeah.
And you've heard of him, right? Yeah.
There's also another guy too that's pretty big down there in Wholesaler. I'm trying to think of his name. I got him on Facebook. Get with me.
They're out there. They're out there.
I know a few. I know a guy that holds a class every Saturday. Rico Smith. Have you seen him?
I haven't. And so I asked because I'm 2 weeks in, and the people that I know in real estate, now know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah. And it's smart for you to ask because it's cool to be able to offer value to somebody that's big like that. And then, you know, your first couple deals, you might just be handing off to them and they might be giving you a $3,000 check. But that's you learning. As long as you can sacrifice some of the money and learn the process, you know, you'll be fine.
You ever thought about owning a hotel? Owning a hotel?
No, I've never thought about that. Nah, I don't want the day-to-day operation of a hotel. Yeah, I hate hotels, actually. Yeah.
Man, I'm just like my brother right here. Started like a month ago. You know what I'm saying? I know you said you can't train a Jordan to be Jordan, but I at least want to be Kobe. You know. So is there like how often do you do mentorships?
I actually have never done a mentorship, and the reason being is because I am truly active in this business, and it's hard enough for me to find time to even spend time with my girlfriend, much less to mentor somebody. Like I'm truly like, you know, I'm active. And if I was to say, yo, I can mentor you, I would be doing you a disservice because I couldn't spend the time with you that I would want to spend with you teaching you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yo, my name is Chris O'Neal. I'm from Nashville. I'm looking for a mentor, dog, because I really want to be successful in this business. So if anybody is from the Nashville area that can help a brother out, it would mean the world to me because I'm like $40,000 in debt. I just got out of college. And for anybody who knows what that is, that sucks. So I just want to, you know, make some money.
So that's a great example of somebody that can bring value to you, and if he brings you bring the right value to the right person, they can help you along the way, right? And you can, I'm telling you, you can pay off that $40,000 very fast if you wanted to in this business. Yeah, very fast. I mean, he just told you made 100 grand since January, and you started in January. Yeah. So.
Are you doing any virtual type deals?
Not really. I was virtually in this market before I decided to really get into it. I'm also in. Have I ever said this publicly? I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So I own the #1 SEO website in Columbus, Ohio. I bought it, and that's really it. So North Carolina, the Nashville area, and Columbus, Ohio. Now I do a lot of JV deals with people that bring me deals and say, hey, do you know somebody in Memphis? I got a house and I'll sell it. Just because of the network of people that I have. $45 turned to 200 legally? Yeah, so I'm taking active cash flow and putting it into cash flow that is tax beneficial for me. And then I'm stuffing, man, I put like $1 million in my IRA this year already. Just push it over there, right? Because I need to be able to borrow from it and push it over there.
Are you able to do it with the Roth, or you make too much money now?
Yeah. So,
but it's still a decent.
Trust, but the self-directed is cool because I have a checkbook IRA.
Exactly.
So I can write out of it, arm's length.
Exactly. Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
It's impactful to see. You know, and I didn't even know it took me 3 years. When you talking about your 3 anniversary?
Yeah.
I had no idea, man. You know what I'm saying?
3 years, man. It's crazy what can happen that fast. But I've learned so much. Like learning notes and learning everything is kind of like, it's just, I just understand life and money so much better now.
I can believe it.
Where it's just.
It's funny, a lot of people right now, man, I was like 6.5 years. And when I was in there, man, I treated it like a college.
He's learning.
Like crazy, man. As far as just learning as much as I can about real estate, and obviously a couple of different investments like stocks.
Yeah. But you know what's cool? What I like about the system only matters if you in it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can be whatever you want. You can be a felon. Your record can be terrible.
Exactly.
But you go buy a note, nobody don't check that.
Nah.
You go to buy a house.
At all.
And that's where the most money is made.
And in the wild spot, man, all they care about is green.
That's it.
Once you got the money, man, they're willing to fund. You willing to fund? They say what you don't do. They're cool with it.
There's no barrier to entry in the actual real money side of business, other than owning the bank. But you know what I'm saying? Like you can be anything. The system doesn't matter only if you want to be a part of it. But the money's not made in the system.
Hey, look, any contract for deeds you ever want to sell? Seriously.
I know.
I'm always down.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, man. Good luck to you, man.
I appreciate it.
For sure, man. Good to hear your story, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Bro, get up my face.
It's my job, bro. So you want to talk more people?
We got like 10 minutes before we get out of here.
So my partner got me out here, the one you were just talking to in the green shirt. I'm a restaurateur. I do the restaurant.
I like that, man.
She wants some barbecue, man.
When I come back next week.
Yeah.
You in you in Murfreesboro too?
Yeah, I got Murfreesboro, Smyrna.
Oh, that's right there off of Medical Center.
So, yeah, I'm on Thompson Lane.
Yeah, Thompson Lane. Yeah, okay, cool, man. That's you?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm a local owner. I own that one right there. I own Smyrna. I'm partners with the other Nashville location.
I'm gonna come through. I'm being serious. I was just over there today eating at Coffee Fusion. Yeah, I was just across the street. Yeah, so I'll hit you up for sure.
Yeah, I did, but you got my attention. You did him a favor, man. You've been trying to get me to, invest.
Listen, where the side of the business he's in is the side where I'm making a lot of money. I'm doing like I tell him I bought a piece of property, 27.5, fixed it up. I got about 45,000 in it.
Yeah.
I did a contract for deed, right?
Yeah.
Put 10,000. Dude put 10,000 down.
Yeah.
He paying me each month. Over the course of the loan that I basically own and finance to him, I'm gonna make about 200,000 off something that I put 45,000 into, and got a 10. So I'm gonna have 35 cash into it because he's gonna give me my 10 back, and it's gonna make me 200,000.
Yeah.
That's wealth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well.
And that's long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I knew I was gonna end up getting in it because every morning in the gym, he don't never stop talking about it. He snuck me out here tonight. I was like, where we going, man? You kidnapping me.
Yeah.
But no, this is good. I appreciate it. I definitely felt like I value my time immensely.
Appreciate you coming out, man. Because
time well spent.
this is the side of the business they don't want you to know. You know, that whole money moving side, numbers on a computer.
Yeah.
That's how you make wealth.
Yeah, generate wealth.
For sure, man.
I appreciate it.
I'll see you. I'll be next weekend or something. I will. Okay, for sure. Thank you. Bro, what'd I tell you? Yes.
Real quick.
Yes.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. My name is Mylon. I just came to support my son, but I want
Which one is your son?
Brent, the tall guy right there.
Okay, in the green shirt?
No, with the stripe
shirt. Okay, got it. The plaid shirt, got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because he just turned 30.
Okay.
And you have inspired something in him. You know, as a mother, you want the best for your kids. And he has 2 young daughters. And so I say thank you because you have sparked something in him.
Well, listen,
looking for
at 30, I moved back home with my parents, and I went to live in my room. And I'm dyslexic, so my first book I ever read was when I was 30 years old. Good to meet you, man. My pleasure, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. Your story, 30 years old, getting in the game. That's where I was, literally 3 years ago. But 30, I was living back home with my mom, and I needed a change, and I didn't have the content I'm putting out. It wasn't out there like that, so I had to go find it in bits and pieces through podcasts, through different places, and now I try to put it all in one place where people can see it. But it's just the reason why I'm so passionate about sharing it, because it changed my life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to retire my mother in a very short amount of time. 3 years. My mom can do whatever she want to do right now. She still works, but she has the ability to wake up and be like, I'm done. hang it up. You know, and that's what you got to look forward to, and your kids and all. You know what I'm saying? You got that big responsibility. But I'm telling you, that dedication, 2 years of blinders on. Because what happens is you're gonna start losing friends because they're not on the same wavelength as you. They just don't get it.
The crazy thing about it, I don't even have friends. I mean, I have a real close friend, but to myself. So it's like I don't really have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I have a woman to worry about. But all that pushing away people, it's just me at the end of the day.
After she sees your dedication and you get that first check,
She gonna be all
She gonna be all right. Don't worry about it. How you doing, sir? Nice to meet you.
My husband.
Nice to meet you. My pleasure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole
whole different ball game.
Yeah.
So just give yourself 2 years, man, and it might happen in one. Fall away in it first. Cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. What's going on, brother? Good to meet you, man. My pleasure. Yeah, man. You locally?
Yeah, Murfreesboro.
Okay, yeah.
You in Murfreesboro?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Dude, I've been watching you since January.
Okay, appreciate it, man.
Sometime the 28th. I'm actually getting married the 28th.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
I'm trying to get my first deal.
Before then. I feel you. Murfreesboro's hot though, man.
It is.
Everywhere you turn, it's like new construction, right?
There's a lot of houses like they're trying to build up. My thing is, I have a house. I found the house, deal machine. I got like 10 different numbers. Every number I'm calling is like nobody's answering. I had one guy, but he hung up on me.
What, you think he was the guy?
No, I don't think he was.
Okay.
It's a different number. But like, what do I need to do?
So there's in the Facebook group, I put like if you want to do a one skip service, it's like $6 or $5 if you do more than that. But that person uses TLO, and that's the best number you're gonna find.
TLO?
Yeah, they use TLO, but it's through Fiverr. The person I found on Fiverr.
Yes.
Yeah, so look in the list on the pinned post that I got at the top, and the one that says one-off skips. Go into that one and just spend the $6 and get that house because you need that number to that house.
Yes.
Yeah, and you need the right number. And TLO is used by law enforcement across the country. See corner lot, all that. So just dig for it. Dig for it, for sure, man. I appreciate you coming out. Yeah, man. Congratulations on you. Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
Small, absolutely, man. Small town. But you can definitely. I've seen people do it.
Good.
I've seen people do it. Just branch out a little bit.
All right. Before we started, we went like an hour from home last Friday, and went to the courthouse and we talked to them about a tax list. Of course, they had no clue what we was talking about.
That's good.
But she took my number and she said that she's going to have to get with her programmer.
That's who you want. They call Office of IT.
Yeah.
That's who you want to talk to. You talk to the Office of IT people.
Nothing about it. But
perfect. And you call the IT guy and you say, listen, I'm looking for some information, and talk them up. You know how computer people love to be talked up. I heard you were the man. I heard you knew how to do anything. I'm looking for people that essentially are delinquent in taxes and their houses. You know, I'm looking for those people. Can you get me a list of houses that either are about to come into a tax sale or at least 2 years behind or a year behind? Can you get that for me? Did your computer do that? Kind of talk it up a little bit.
This is two of my sons.
How you doing, guys? Nice to meet you. What's your name? Zach? Isaiah. Nice to meet you guys.
16, 18 years old. What's one thing you can tell them? I mean, I wish I was right here when I was 18.
You ain't lying, man.
I'm 40 now. And
you ain't lying. Man, listen, it's, dude, you guys are so young. So young. Like, but you're in the right place at a very young age. And if I was where you were, and like, because you're in right now, you don't understand, most of your friends are out doing, I don't know if school's out already, they're just doing some of the dumbest things. You're actually taking some time and you're investing in yourself and you're understanding. It would be so cool to be 21 and making like 40 grand a month. I know it seems unrealistic, but I'm telling you, I make about 13 grand a day. So to go from broke to that now, it happens very quickly. And there's the barrier to this game, there's no age restriction, there's no financial background, it doesn't matter. It is such a low barrier of entry to get into this that
no matter what school you went to.
I didn't even graduate school, man. I had a 1.9 GPA. I'm the worst student, but I'm fairly smart. I'm just the worst student. I hate doing homework. I hate tests. You know, I wasn't good at them. But I mean, now I have attorneys that I pay and they work for me. People that paid 100 grand to go to college.
We went to RIA in Louisville. Of course, there's no one there. We drove 100 miles to get there, and the guy was telling us that it's not the grades you make, but the hands you shake. And
That's it.
that is so
That's
true.
it. That's it. I got a good friend, Bo Hollis, who's in Louisville, Kentucky. He has a company called Simply Sold. So Simply Sold. So if you ever get something there, that's a great buyer to have.
Bo Hollis?
Bo Hollis. It's spelt weird, B-A-U, I think it's B-A-U. Bo Hollis, B-A-U. But that's his good friend right there. So he'll tell you that if getting a hold of, that's who you need to talk to right there. But he knows Bo. He was just at Bo's house the other day. But you know, branch out, do some of that stuff, and you guys stick close behind. And dude, it would be you're 18, 16, like 21, bro. Both of you guys can be millionaires, like in a real story, like really, it could really happen. And it's not no fantasy. I'm not like selling you a lotto ticket. It's just some grind and hard work, and you'll learn something none of your friends know. None of your friends know.
Well, I mean, I know you've seen it too. They don't understand what you're talking about. The first thing you say, it's like, they ask him what college he's going to, and he said, well, I'm looking into real estate. The first thing they say, you're going to sell? You're going to be an agent?
No. An investor.
Yeah.
Where you get the money from, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly, don't worry about it.
I promise you, college is not going anywhere. I know it's fun. I know it sounds fun to go to college. I never went to college. But life is fun when you're rich. So you don't need college.